Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And so it's fucking Friday, so let's get rolling. First up tonight is Michael.
Cool. Let me just share this thing. This is kind of like a rough first draft of actually what I'm gonna probably read at the event on the 22nd. So I apologies for those who are gonna be there and have to listen to a version of this tonight. Cool. So I think I just shared that. All right, it's called Night Shuttle. In the fall, I took a week off work and flew out to visit an old friend in Chicago. He ran a small theater at the time, though it later collapsed in the ways all veins creative are bloody or destined. That's not important. I worked in tech sales back then. That's not important either. I hadn't slept in 2 days and I was nervous to fly in that condition. No, what's important is that I was afraid of what the approaching end of my marriage would mean. The uncertain isolation, the fission of our shared language, the end. I felt lousy and my heart fidgeted, quaked, all the things that make you wonder when that necessary organ will simply stop trying to carry you on its back. Chicago was a place, a welcome couch, a cold beer on a back porch, a way away from the end for a few more desperate days. Outside the terminal, I claimed a corner of the smoking area and finished off the last of my pack. Ride shares scampered in and out of the drop-off zone, their doors barely closed before they dashed up the ramp to the highway again, searching for the closest fare. I knew they were as desperate as I was, fleeing inaction, the cost. For a time, I watched them come and go, sag deeper into the metal bench, and considered what made me a bad husband. When I'd finished torturing myself over every ill-considered word and forgotten promise, I stood, grabbed my bags, and entered the manufactured chill of the terminal. Became one of its numbed clicks and clatters. Surrendered to its lines, x-ray blasts, the measures of my compliance. I bought coffee and regretted each foul swig. In a place of departures, there was no true way out. There and now here again in twilight, I feel like I should explain myself. See, I'm inclined to distrust, greedy of a sense in the way I extend faith. Exaltations in the name of religion or philosophy, systems, I mean, they make me uneasy. Belief in a higher power or significance does not come so natural to me. What I mean to say is, as I queued in line for the plane out of Logan, clutched my creased ticket, and looked out the wide glass window, I did not expect to feel a great updraft of dread at the looming sky, nether carved storm cannons ready to destroy the tarmac and the meek Boston skyline beyond. Wind and rain tested the window's defenses. It all reawakened a small self, me, a boy, tight-suited, kneeling in a pew, my first funeral, afraid and bawling and dumbfounded as to why my grandmother and her wisdom were forever silenced. Me, starched in Thursday night church school, thumbing a tired Bible, memorizing histories, the names of fathers, the Father. It took a while for the staff to move through the loading ritual. The soft ping of the scanner cut through the chatter and rustle of the terminal wing. The man ahead of me in line noisily fingered a bag of chips. Children tugged at their mothers and brandished their dead screen tablets. I felt the collective yearning for distraction. Finally, I entered the gangway. The storm hummed against the metal roof. We inched, all of us close. Still, I was nervous, the enormity of my situation growing with each step toward the presumed and pressurized flying coffin. I cleared my throat and tried to force myself to burp. Not because my stomach was upset, but because I was desperate to process air in all ways possible. The burp wouldn't come, and I feared that a heart attack was next. We shuffled on. At the plane hatch, I stooped and lugged myself inside. Fitful resignation. My seat was the first row of coach, and after hoisting my bag into the container above, I settled and fidgeted in my seat, knees tight against the wall in front. How could I last this way? In my mind, I negotiated with my friend, played out the conversation about why I abandoned the trip at the last possible second. Okay, I thought, okay. Gripped my hands, wondered, as I often do, whether the girth of my hands is a product of my failure to control my weight or something darker, the gathering of fluid, a signal of my demise. I wandered my mind in search of prayer, something formal, easy, found nothing. Then I simply asked what I felt looming above to be merciful, for it to forgive, to protect my parents too. As I braced, a voice beside me asked for help. I looked up. She was a little thing, a nun no younger than 70, frocked and clutching a black case travel bag. This woman of prayer, she broke my prayer. I nodded, stood, and hoisted the bag into the compartment above us. As I shoved the bag against the other luggage inside, the nun took the seat beside me in the center of the row. There was a younger man in the window seat, but he didn't look up from his phone. Thank you, the nun said. Sure, I said. She wasn't chatty. We wouldn't speak for the duration of the flight. She minded her rosary, fingered the beads and sacramental sequence as the plane inched closer to the sky. I tried not to stare, but I found myself with an armful of questions. I settled on whether she wanted the aisle seat. The nun smiled and declined. I decided then that our flight would suffer no problems, no ailments. Unlike every time I'd flown or ever since, I did not grip the arm guards as we leapt through the rain into the air. The wind did not beat against us while we rose. My ears, my stomach, my heart all stayed serene. I didn't even feel thirsty. Our plane curled upward, and when we leveled out, I looked to the window. The cloud cover broke, and there was Boston, gold-white diadem, strung on her chain of stoplight highways. She would live the night, and so would I thought. I won't call it a religious experience. That descriptor feels untrue. I cannot say I felt the touch of God such as he is or may be, but I did enter a strange door, if but for a moment. I felt inside of the room. It reminded me of a story my friend in Chicago told me once, how they'd wandered in an abandoned hospital years before, brought cameras to make a movie, but spent the night scaring themselves, they and their friends, until they'd reached a stairwell to the attic. As they climbed, he told me, they felt as though others were passing them by, descending, finding a way to the earth. Then they heard a moan like the song of a loon, and they fled, even though it might have been someone shacked up in the hospital to stay out of the cold. Maybe that was the point. They didn't know, but they didn't need to know. The closeness to an untouchable truth was enough. We arrived in Chicago an hour early. The pilot couldn't believe it. He said it twice on the intercom like he wanted one of us to call out the error. The ground caught us. We glid to the terminal at O'Hare on a stream of holy ice. Without prompting, I fetched the nun's bag and carried it up the gangway. It felt owed. Thank you, she said. And then we parted. I remained by the gangway door and watched her fade into the bustle of the airport. Nearby, a line queued up for their turn in the sky. And that's it.
Oh man, Michael, this is really fucking good. I know you've told some version of this story before, but you haven't actually read this story before, right? Because I know you've told me like broadly about this incident that happened, I think, in the past.
Maybe, yeah. I wrote this like in the last week, but yeah, there was a time where I was like terrified on a flight, and then like a nun sat next to me and had like a really weird experience the entire flight. So
Yeah, no,
felt time to sit with it.
I really like this because you take this single moment and you like so perfectly capture the atmosphere of that. Like I've talked before about how much I love pieces that kind of work in time dilation, that kind of take the essence of a single moment in time and stretch it out and stretch it out. And this piece is like so wonderfully atmospheric in the way that it did like gradual intricate like way you build dread, you build like you build dread and you build anxiety and you build terror, and like the listener is like, oh shit, like something absolutely terrible is going to happen. And the way you break that in the story and the way you deliver the exact opposite here with like such subtlety and such gentleness, and without it ever becoming like religious writing in the bad sense of the term, right? Without it ever becoming like a peachy a preachy piece, or in a like apologetic piece, meaning like in terms of like Christian apologetics, right? A like evangelical type of piece. But you get so close to that religious experience, right? It's really good. It's really fucking good.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for reading. Josh, now for something really completely fucking different.
Well, well, there's going to be some religiosity. That's for sure. So apologies, because I think many people here have heard the first four things I'll read, which are just the poems that were published recently, I guess that July 28th.
Yeah, you know what? We published it, so they're gonna have to hear it again.
And I like to do, it's a brand thing, you know what I mean? The link gets put up again. And then a new short story. So just four poems. Boxer brief. As you get older, they grow bigger, the urine spots even after shaking off. I don't have rape fantasies, but it's not because I'm a good person. I can't convincingly imagine being able to overpower another human or even a medium-sized animal. Possibly a large bird would present certain difficulties. In high school, I was voted most likely to be tased, but as in so many other ways, I've never fully realized my potential. The cocaine in Toronto. If it looks like cocaine and it smells like cocaine, it's still probably not cocaine. And then a new story, I'm just gonna adjust this, called Intrusive Thoughts. I'm trying to focus on what he's saying, but the gun is right there on his hip. It's so close I could touch it. What would happen if I just went for it? I've never handled a firearm, and I don't know how to remove one from a holster. Does it slide right out? I'm guessing not. If it were that easy, people would be dropping their guns all the time, and the resolution to gun stories is never, and then his gun slid out of the holster and onto the floor. Maybe, I think, this could be a first. In that respect, I'm an optimist. I do make the same mistake 10 times in a row, expecting different results. That's faith. The cop shop I'm in is much different than the other one. The other one was way out in the suburbs. It didn't have all these missing ceiling tiles. There were a lot more seats. I'm not sure how the holding cells compare. Funny to think all that was almost exactly 2 years ago, July 2020, a candidate for the worst month of my life. Not an outright winner, mind you. Competition is stiff. I'm sitting, so the cops' holsters are at eye level. I know they have tasers too. One of them explains the threshold for laying criminal harassment charges. If I understand correctly, I've got to prove that I'm afraid for my safety to make the charges stick. I'm certain that I'll never convince a man who wants to be a cop that a 5'4" French girl could pose a serious threat to any man, even one like me. Most of my actions fall under the category of self-harm. I'm not a violent person. Reaching for the gun is an intrusive thought. There are others. One recurs whenever I'm trimming my nose hairs. I use a pair of those little curved scissors, the kind meant for your nails. I can't handle the pain of plucking, and the only other way would be to let the snot harden, then pick my nose. That usually dislodges a few, but the results are inconsistent. Yet if I angle these little scissors perfectly, I get the hairs right at the roots without having to feel a thing. I do it in front of the mirror. Every time I think about jamming the scissors right up a nostril. It's a variation on a theme. Most of my intrusive thoughts relate to suicide. Here's a brief inventory. Throwing myself in front of the subway, jumping while standing under a ceiling fan, really just maiming myself with fans in general, weird sex stuff with my mom, licking specks of shit off a public toilet in Bloor Station. I keep plastic utensils, so I only have to think about stabbing myself in the heart or an orifice when I'm at restaurants. I've never used Q-tips to clean my ears. Inexplicably, I drink from metal straws at home, and sometimes, when I'm taking a sip, I imagine slamming my face right down into the cup like the pencil scene in that Joker movie. When I try to describe the gun, all that comes to mind is black. They all look the same. The phrase branding guidelines for arms manufacturers flashes in my mind. The earliest intrusive thought that I can remember relates to eternal damnation. When I was 7, my grandma told me that there was one unforgivable sin, blaspheming the Holy Ghost. I became terrified that I'd blasphemed the Holy Ghost. The second I realized there was an irreversible pipeline to hell, the thoughts began. Don't blaspheme the Holy Ghost. 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 I didn't even want to open my mouth to eat. I'd learned young not to trust myself. My family thought it was cute when they found out why I hadn't spoken for 4 days. It takes hours for the cops who are allowed to do cop things to get here and take down my report. The desk cops, probably because of some union thing, say they can't take domestic reports. They need to call a squad car back to the police station. The cops who are allowed to do things, who are allowed to do cop things, turn on their body cams before they start asking questions. The cameras beep when they're activated. I hope my final moments are caught on body cam. Before the cops who are allowed to do cop things show up, 3 men of the exact same shape and size walk in. One has a cane. I note this not out of ableism, but due to the otherwise identical appearances of the 3 men. The man with the cane explains his problem. He paid someone to restore his vintage Mercedes 450 SL and suspects that the mechanic has sold it to someone else. The cop asks for a timeline of events, and we all learn that the man with the cane hasn't seen his car in 15 years. When the desk cop walks away to call the mechanic, who has allegedly been hoarding the car since 2007, the man with the cane says to the 2 men without canes, "I should have dealt with this 3 weeks ago." A little later, an elderly woman hobbles in. She's misplaced her cell phone and, with her own secret logic, determined the police station was the place to go. "When did you lose your phone?" the desk cop asks. "Oh," she says, "about 2 weeks ago." Seated beside me, my girlfriend notes the distinct lack of urgency here. It took me more than a year to file this police report. The wait is otherwise boring, but definitive moments so often begin that way. In the waiting room before the diagnosis, for example, or, I don't know, in a holding cell in North York. Why they booked me in North York? A 40-minute drive from my place in the beaches. I'll never know for sure, but I've got a theory. It was literally the farthest possible station from my apartment. My ex would do that. She probably calculated the distance on Google Maps before making the call. Okay, Google. I'd love to know what she said, how she sold the lie. One of the cops asked me if I responded to her harassment in any way. I tweeted some stuff, I say, then clarified that I deleted the tweets immediately. This isn't the first discussion I've had with the Toronto Police Service about social media. The other cop wants to know if I can send him screenshots of the tweets for the report. He warns me that he doesn't want any surprises during the investigation. I have to be completely honest. Otherwise, he says, we'll have a problem. I wonder about his partner's reaction time. He's 3 feet away. That's it.
Josh, I'm gonna level with you. That story you just read broke my fucking heart. You want to know why it broke my heart? Because the first you were fucking, I don't know, you were a third of the way through, and you know what thought popped into my head? I
What?
thought, as soon as Josh finishes reading this, I'm going to tell him, save this for us. And then I remember we're not accepting submissions anymore, because what you just read is like the perfect fucking misery tourism story. It has everything. It has like the just completely nasty, self-deprecating humor. It has the suicidal ideation. Oh my god, the opening and closing of this story, though, the opening and closing of this story with the fantasy about grabbing the cop's gun, and then closing with the return to the fantasy of the cop's gun. Like, I'm not a big fan of like super tidy short stories, but that's meticulous construction right there. That fucking works. And oh god damn it, Josh, why did you not write this? I guess like circumstances in your life didn't allow you to write this story a month ago, but I wish you had.
Well, thanks so much. And I love that I like what you said. It's something, a lot of it was like basically something had to happen, and then there's all these other things like the childhood thing that I wanted to include in a piece for ages, and I can't write these things quickly, and the childhood stuff, and it all just kind of fit. And what happened was, it actually was born of here because with Kobe, someone referred to the kind of recurring joke, the Kobe, as intrusive, and I actually wasn't thinking of it that way. And I started thinking about that thing that I experienced. I mean, I'm not diagnosed with OCD, although I think it's fair to say I probably do have some form of it. And I was like, what about that? And it worked, and it kind of just all came together. But I appreciate that you appreciated it in the way I wanted it to be.
I fucking loved it, Josh. It's great. I wish I could make you hold it for Misery Tourism. I will say I want to tell the. Is it okay if I tell about the poem, the batch of poems that we just published,
Oh yeah.
the circumstances? So Josh submitted that Rape Fantasies poem to us like a fucking year ago with another batch of poems that we accepted. And then I got an email from him that was like, hey, is it okay if I pull the Rape Fantasies poem? And I'm like, Josh, why? And Josh is like, you were worried about work at the time, right?
Which is no longer a problem. I mean, work. I mean, I have work, but it's a different. It's a different.
And so you had us sit on that poem for probably about a year. But I'm glad we were able to publish it. And I'm actually glad that we were able to publish it as a part of what appears to be a batch of other poems that you didn't want published until you were done.
That was exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a real honor to be able to be the home of the Josh Sherman pieces that were like too controversial, like the stuff that Josh Sherman was afraid to publish. I think that's a rare honor. But anyway, thank you, Josh. That was fucking awesome.
Thanks a lot. And thank you to Derek, because Derek actually helped with that one. I even made some slight tweaks after, but yeah.
Cool.
Josh, I do the Kobe thing even if I miss now.
That's the best time to do it.
Right.
It's best met with just that clang, just off the, you know what I mean? Or not even air ball. It's best done with an air ball.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Josh. So Troy is up next.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me? All right, cool.
Yeah, perfectly.
I'm gonna read 3 excerpts from Temporal, which came out in like 2018. I don't think I've ever read from it here before. I hope not. But and I'm not gonna give any context, okay? Other than it's 3 alternating narrators throughout the book. So we were at a club called the Leviathan, waiting for the heat from the drugs to recede. Cody overdid it, to say the least, but Samantha and I maintained our business as usual cool while dancing through the night. When it came to Molly, we were gurus of the genre. Guess Cody snuck off to the bathroom at some point, crushed 5 of the fuckers up on the toilet seat and snorted them. He was out of his mind, feeling good. When you have a schnoz like an aardvark and the courage to die, I guess you get to feeling like Superman or something. An hour or 2 later, he was looking pretty gross, kind of hunkered against the wall, vomit on his shoes. And we knew it was over. Clark Kent had arrived, and he seemed just as weak and human as anybody else. What a waste, I said. You two still owe me 45 per. Fuck that shit, said Samantha. Those are Skrelly prices. For you, 30, I said, but him, we'll talk about that later, if he didn't die on us. Samantha didn't say anything, just smiled. My phone buzzed, a text from Jared. I think you're so beautiful. Please consider what we talked about yesterday, okay? Love you. I put the phone back in my pocket without a reply. Jared was a guy from Jersey who thought I was a girl named Amber from Kansas. We were kind of dating, I guess. And I am from Kansas. But my real name's Aaron, and I have absolutely zero interest in fucking guys. Not saying Jared did either, or even that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying he didn't know I was a guy, and I did. Come on, said Samantha. We could wait all night trying to get him right. I agreed, so we hopped in my car and drove back to the suburbs, where our parents slept comfortably in their beds, snoring as if they were already dead. We pulled in the driveway and cut the headlights. Cody fell and hit the concrete with a bang. We each grabbed an arm and hoisted him to walk. Oh, fuck. What's that smell? Said Samantha. Cody, you still alive, man? You smell like shit. Shut the fuck up, he said through clenched teeth. Come on, guys, I said, not too loud. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I thought maybe it was Jared, but that was just me being hopeful. It just as easily could have been Marcus, Marie, or Darius. It turns out to be my mom. You coming home tonight? I only saw this an hour later after getting Cody covered up and hydrated and asleep. I didn't reply. Instead, I texted Jared. I know it's late, but can you talk? New order of the Smiths, asked Samantha. I was staring at my phone, waiting for a text to appear. You could at least tell me to fuck off or something, she said. Fuck off then, I said. She picked the Smiths. I settled back in the beanbag chair, waiting. Occasionally, I'd look up to see if Cody was still breathing. Every now and then, look at Samantha. She was pretty. She had this black hair and pale skin, a bit of a crooked smile, but I found it endearing. She was dancing while sitting on the floor, writhing, shaking her head. I don't know how to describe it. We were all in our own little separate worlds, and those worlds were crammed into this world. It was stuffy, you know? We liked the company, yet other times we wanted those other worlds to be crushed by meteors or asteroids, just like how dinosaurs supposedly died. It couldn't hurt much, right? Wouldn't even see it coming. You don't feel anything when you're glued to a screen, even when you're up late cooking up extinction theories. Finally, Jared texted, half asleep, can we talk tomorrow? Tomorrow? Fuck tomorrow. I typed, it's really, really, you know, my bestie OD'd and it's in the ICU. You want to talk tomorrow? Jared texted, so sorry, babe. I didn't know. I hope she's okay. Is she going to make it? You holding up? I didn't reply. 1 minute later, he texted, hello? For real though, forgive me, please. I didn't know. Love you. Whatever, fucking asshole. Who you talking to? Asked Samantha. Fuck you, I said to my phone as I turned it off. Nobody. Just reading some shit about the asshole we voted into office. Samantha was still doing her amazing dances. I studied her in the mild light and said, I think I'd rather listen to Joy Division if you're cool with that. People who hang themselves after watching Herzog films probably actually aren't that rare, said Samantha. That's how I'd do it right after Fitzgeraldo, I said, yawning. We listened to Ian Curtis and his depressing baritone for a while, not talking to each other. I was losing steam. Finally told Samantha I was going to call it a night and go to sleep. Think I'll stay up a bit longer, make sure he makes it, she said. Oh, and don't forget, we have to be on campus by 8:30 at the absolute latest. Test starts at 8:45. I nodded, slid back into the beanbag chair, covered myself with the sheet, and closed my eyes. They weren't closed all that long before I heard Cody grunt, start flopping around on the bed. Then I heard Samantha, you all right, Cody? You need anything? Then I heard him whisper, yeah. What do you need? Water? She asked. Wake me up if I sleep through the fire, he said. Of course, she said. Don't worry about that. Thanks, he said, flopping, going back to sleep. I finally fell asleep to his snoring, then her snoring too, thinking stupid things. The fact of their lives lulling me into a dream where houses never burned and people never died. Okay. Took me a few weeks to hang on to the $100 I needed, but as soon as I had it, I went back to Duffy's place and smoked weed with him for a bit. Then I told him I wanted to give it a go, with the kid. He leaned in close and said, $100, 1 hour, anything you want. I handed him the bill and went into the kid's bedroom. The kid was just sitting on his bed playing with a doll. The light was dim. I sat down beside him and brushed the hair out of his eyes. He looked like a ghost just back from war, had a look in his eyes, something I imagined we'd wanted from our visit to Stoll, something I never want to see again. There was nothing in there, big eyes like drained pools. He was a shell. I put him on his back on his bed. He didn't even try to fight it. I put him on his back on his bed and slid the pillow over his face. It was stained yellow with grease. It didn't take long and he didn't fight it. When he went limp, he looked less vacant, relieved, filled with light. I crossed his arms over his chest, put his head on the pillow, made my way out the window and drove straight to the nearest police station to turn myself in. There were clouds, there was a sidewalk, there was a pole, there was grass, there was a flower, then there was me. I was alive. I was so alive I looked up at the sun and knew it couldn't blind me. It peeked through dark clouds forming, and as I stood there ready to turn it all over, I thought, there's only us. Then the sky boomed, gurgled, cracked itself open, and down came a weeping of rain. The clouds weren't crying for me, they were crying for all of us, cleaning the streets, making a rainbow, the loudest silence I've ever heard. All right, next part. My brother Joe showed up late and said, "Hurry up, we don't have all day." I thought, here we are, just like everybody else, hooked through the lips and flopping for air, an invisible line forever guiding us to our inevitable deaths or something similar. He picked me up on campus by way of Kansas City, where he'd relocated after getting out of prison. I hopped in the car, slid back in the seat, and slugged his shoulder. He was sipping iced tea, had the radio too loud, and was wiping away at smears of lipstick on his cheek. We were road tripping to our mother's funeral in Wichita. She had died the previous week from pneumonia. The news had come like a smack to the face as my sister play-by-played her final moments to us over the speakerphone. How she had asked for beef jerky and a Coca-Cola and a crossword puzzle. How an hour before she slipped away into the nothing, she felt like she was on the up and up, like she could run a marathon or two, which we since concluded was a result of the steroids they were feeding her. She had only been in the hospital for 2 days, so there was no way to brace ourselves for it. We were told it was acute pneumonia, nothing incredibly serious, and she'd be out and off to a quick recovery the very day she died. She'd always been pretty healthy. Health doesn't always matter. How's school? It's school, I said. Come on, Aaron. Are you going to classes? Yeah, I'm going. I've got this one professor that looks like you. Name's Professor Dickhead. Hey, he said, fuck you. We broke into laughter. I'm doing fine, I said. You don't have to worry about me. I'm the only person in our family who's ever been inside a college building, so like, I think I've got this. Shit, you're right. Good for you, brother. Good for you. I got a text from Jared. It was a picture of him all dressed up for my mom's funeral, even though he wouldn't actually be there. He appeared to be crying. He'd captioned the picture, thinking of you during this difficult time. Just imagine I'm with you. I am with you. All the love, Jared. Things flickered in the headlights and the night grew quiet. We stopped at a gas station an hour later. Joe got a bunch of instant coffee so he wouldn't fall asleep at the wheel. Every 30 minutes or so, he'd rip open a pack, take in a mouthful of crystals, and chase it down with Coke. It must have been the recovering addict in him, like it made his heart do something beyond just pumping blood. I nodded quietly on a Slim Jim while Joe spewed on about the time he and a friend got fucked up from huffing gasoline. He laughed and went silent. I thought it was funny too, was getting high on dinosaur bones, but I thought about a lot in the span of those few seconds. Crimson drinks made with bottles of gin, the way I used to look at the sun, hoping to go blind and feel my way through life. Large grain silos and drugs and all the ghosts we secretly hoped we'd never find. The piles and piles of bones in the earth, and how I wished they'd never died. Wished they could pop up from the dirt and dance around in the same clothes they wore to the funerals. Mom and Dad, too, I couldn't stop thinking about them. Neither one of them could dance, but they sure could sing. And then there was Sam. I could not take my mind off her. She flickered through between every other thought like she was some kind of poltergeist, haunting even the memories of things that happened before she was ever there at all. You okay, little brother? Yeah, I said. Can you stop the car? I have to call somebody. He pulled the car off on the shoulder in the night. I could see another gas station a half mile down the road. I stood there alone for a second in the Flint Hills, staring at my phone. Samantha answered on the second ring. Hey, she said, you okay? Yeah, I said. I just wanted to tell you I got your... Shut up, she said. Don't say it. You don't know shit. You don't know what you're even saying. And she was right. I didn't know shit. Still don't. Seriously, I said. I mean it. I miss you. I love you. I wish you would have fucking smothered me with a pillow. Listen, though, for real, I think I'm ready. I can do it. I mean, I love you more than anything in the world. It's got to count for something. Oh my God, she said. You're serious, aren't you? She took a deep breath, then another. You know what, Aaron? I've got an idea. And it's a good one. Why don't you go fuck yourself? The gas station was all haloed with light like it was on fire. The warmth of the Kansas air all thick. A placebo of fever, and me just dumbly numb to it all. After a minute or two, I got back into the car, a rush of cool air, relief. Joe asked who I was talking to. Nobody, I told him. You know, he said, I know about Cody. Read it in the paper. I didn't say anything, just nodded. Well, he said, it looks like you figured it out. What? That there's nothing to figure out. I got a text message from somebody, didn't read it. Just rolled down the window, dropped my phone into the dying night, and watched in the mirror as it bloomed into shards, battery acid in the street. I'd spent my entire life trying to forget, even when trying to remember. I hung my head out the window facing east and stared directly into the rising sun, breathing in the faint smell of all the ancient dirt and scattered roadkill. I wasn't trying to forget about anybody. I was trying to forget about the world. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Troy, that was fucking phenomenal as usual. You know what really struck me while listening to this piece is the dialogue, and what you have a fucking incredible knack for writing dialogue that captures exactly the way people fail to communicate with each other, right? Like, so much of the dialogue here, it's so acutely tuned, and you have two people who are not malicious, right? You have two well-meaning people talking to each other time and time again, and you see exactly how they fail to say what they want to say, or they say what they want to say at exactly the wrong time to an audience that would have been receptive 5 minutes ago, and all of that. Like, it's just so perfect. It captures like so perfectly, not just like the way people actually talk, because that's like often held up as like the standard for dialogue. Does it sound how people actually talk? And certainly it does, but it goes beyond that to capture like the real like profound emotional vacancy that often exists between people who are like really trying to reach out and grab the other person. I don't know, it's really fucking good, and it's funny too. The way I described it makes it sounds like fucking Bergman or something, but it's funny. Like it I don't know, I'm rambling, Troy. It's really fucking good though.
Thanks so much, William. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So Tyler's up next.
All right. Let me.
Tyler, have you read before? I know
Nope.
you've been here many times, but so this is your first time reading that.
Yeah, some of the people asked me to read something a few weeks ago, and then Gigi kept interrupting me, so I told him I'd come and read during
All right.
this. All right, so this is called Unknown Parts. It's like 5 lines, pretty short. 101011 sniffs a passing dance craze. A canister of cream wallows, splashing oils clear across the asphalt. 3 strands of dry lightning slit through the lining of a cloud overhead, laughing unapologetically. Sputtering gibberish, arithmetic 101011 detects physical residue. Flung elbows, slit earlobes, and molting glutes. Feeling cluttered, it kneels on the jogging trail. The sun shrieks from a foamy January ice to an autumn blue molasses. All right, that's it.
Tyler, that rocks. You know what
Thank you.
I like about this, and I don't think I've read it before. I think this is my first time hearing this poem, is you are so precise in your language usage, right? Like, there's not a wasted word, there's not a wasted syllable. Every moment here is an image that the listener or the reader like immediately understands. You don't waste the fucking you don't waste the fucking letter, man.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Cool.
And Keko's up next.
Hi. I'm sorry if I read some of these before already. I'm not sure, but I have 4 poems. So let's start. The first one is so good I have to write it down. Suddenly I'm in a good mood. Why? What happened? It's dawn. My darling wakes up and says she dreamt of an earthquake and that I'm scaring her. I'm happy. What was it? I was reading, but nothing good. I was listening to music and the songs were great, but I've heard them all before. And no new thoughts, no ideas to electrify the usual back pain and an average masturbation. Yet I'm here, happy and awake. I lie on the bed, my thoughts assuming a nearing tragedy, my chest clear, my feet peaceful. And that was the first one. Second one is called Black Pine. Sits on the beach, pebble in the thighs. Black is the night. The sea also, and the greenery darkens, and her dark eyes. Yet the town has changed, and lights came long ago. Long ago he left, for the city and the land, other planet he said, and I must come alone. Pebble in the thighs, pebble in the back, in the sea they murmur, while black widows bite through the town, and white dogs bark. Yet the pebbles here have changed and now appear pale, as if all of the stones of worth of my fancy be put on my neck. The sandrock, pinkish light yellow night black, has sunk into the chest, and she walks through with the pebble in her skin as white dogs bark. And black widows bite from the dim windows of the belfry that was belling for his bark, his white bark behind which Hvar looked as if black. I was watching not the bark but the island. Black, blacker than any island of any land of any planet. Island full of shrubs, pines with cypress silhouettes on top crowned with a black pine silhouette. Stretches its hunchback towards the moon. Even through this moonless night, it stretches its back towards the moon. The next one is listening to something vast. The thought is that the time is too fast if the space is wide, too slow if it's narrow. A trivial thought. Time is too fast and space is too narrow. Oh, woe unto me. I wanted to fuck centuries and dimensions. I'm sitting in this little room, in this little world. And the last one is thinking about the title for my imaginary book. With a picture of me standing nude by the window and staring into the camera outside. Poems from the window. Stony landscape and flower of stupidity under the sun. Fuck you, buy my book. Suck my cock, buy my book. If you have ever been a fellow, you owe me. Grinning from the gutter. I hate foes, but I love friends. Don't buy my book. I want people from the next century to pity me, admire my resilience, and ridicule your narrowness. That's it.
That I'm glad you read that last one, because the first three were very good, but they're also like, they're dark, right? By your standards, they're dark, they're kind of profound and moody poems. And I really like that you kind of built up the expectation that that was the batch of poems we were going to get, and then you ended on a really great punchline. But Keko, first of all, it's good to have you back, man. We've been missing you while you've been digging up corpses. I want to talk though. I want to talk about the first poem you read because it's so good, because it so perfectly captures those weird like moments of euphoria that come over you that are just completely inexplicable, right? And the way, and it's not just that you like capture that kind of moment that we've all had, but you capture it with like incredible language, like the way you describe like the chasm that exists between like the mundane reality of the moment and the feeling that you're experiencing, right? That like no new thoughts, no ideas to electrify, the usual back pain and an average masturbation. Yet I'm here, like all of that, like it's like, yeah, this shouldn't be a moment of just unbelievable like clarity and of you know, like of like real something. Like this should not be this profound existential moment, right? And yet it is. And like you, oh my God, that's such a good poem. These are all good. Thank you, man.
Thanks. Thanks.
And yeah, and once again, it's good to have you back. John. You're next.
Hello.
John, oh, you're back. I was worried that maybe you were sick. Before we
I
started,
just made it. I just made it.
before we started, John, excuse me, sent me a message and he's like, when am I going? I have to pee. And I'm like, you're like 5th in line. You're going to be okay. He's like, well, that's going to be just enough time. So I'm glad you made it.
There's piss all over my pants. I had to run across the house. So I aren't as easy. I prepared a couple words before this story. I just want to say, with the closing of our beloved magazine, surfaces.cx, I've come to the conclusion that, I mean, literature is pretty much dead. It's over at this point. There's no use trying to do anything. So I decided to go back to my roots, Hollywood. I got my sunglasses for, making like lots of money in movies and stuff. And I'm switching over. I'm not writing any more stories. I'm only doing like movies and like scripts and like big budget, kind of deals. So I've prepared a script, and it'd be really helpful. Does anyone want to help me read it? Because there's like 3 roles, and I don't want to read it all. But I will if I have to.
I'll play one of the roles.
Okay, you could be Jimmy.
I'll help.
You could be Tyler, and then I need one more very short role.
Is there a doc where I read my Jimmy parts from?
I think I put the link in here already.
I'll volunteer if you need another reader.
All right, you are the soldier.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. All right. So it's a try to play it.
Is this Penis Hunters?
Yeah, but try to play it straight because it's kind of like a drama.
Give me one second. Let me just open it so I can command F all the Jimmy parts. But yes,
Okay.
there we go. Okay, we're good.
All right. Here we go. Interior, Penis Hunters HQ. Jimmy Steak Sauce, game show host, sits at what appears to be a regular desk. Jimmy has a lot of energy and is yelling at the camera. He is animated. He makes lots of hand gestures and spits when he talks.
Wait, can you hear me? Am I?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Tonight on Penis Hunters, we take 10 of the toughest cocks and we put them through the ringer.
Very good. Jimmy makes a circle with his thumb and pointer finger and drives his entire arm through it. He thrashes his arm around, insinuating that his arm is a penis being put through the ringer. Jimmy screams as if his penis is being put through the ringer. Jimmy then pretends to squish, squeeze, and stretch an imaginary cock.
See the cock squished, squeezed, and stretched to their limits, all in the pursuit of one thing: cold, hard cash.
The camera pulls away to reveal that although Jimmy's desk is not wide, it is very long. We have not seen where it ends.
The winner walks away with $10,000 in hand. The loser walks away with nothing.
The camera is still pulling back. There are painted on veins running down the length of the desk.
And sometimes even less. That's right. These challenges aren't for the weak of cock.
Jimmy brings out a stalk of celery and holds it between both hands.
If your penis isn't tough enough, well then, you might just lose it.
Jimmy snaps the celery in half, sticks both halves into his mouth, chews them violently, and spits the celery chunks at the camera. Jimmy does this to imitate how one would chew up and spit out a weak, flaccid penis. Flaccid penis.
That's
camera, right. Yeah. The camera pulls back all the way. Jimmy's desk is revealed to be 30 feet long. The desk ends in a sort of bell shape, and it appears that there is a little hole at the tip of it.
It's time to find out Who has the toughest cock in America?
From the hole at the end of Jimmy's desk erupts a stream of white slime that whites out the camera. The white screen cuts to the Penis Hunters montage introduction. Montage. Awesome rock music plays. Arabia, 1958. A modern American hero soldier is lying prone on top of a cliff. He loads a clip into his sniper rifle, but the clip looks like a big hairy ball sack, and with the clip loaded in the sniper, the gun suddenly looks like a big penis. The American hero soldier fires a round from his penis sniper. We follow the bullet in slow motion, like the ending part from Wanted. As the bullet flies through the air, it spins to show cool engraved scenes carved into the bullet. We see a scene of a man with a free weight tied to his penis standing atop several cinder blocks. We see a man pulling a bus with his penis. We see a lumberjack facing off against a pack of wolves, armed with nothing but his erect cock sticking through his fly. We see a scene of Jimmy wearing sunglasses and smiling. He's flexing his muscles and he's jerking off two penises, one in each hand. But he isn't gay though. It's just to see who has the most succulent cock. And then the cock's jizz and he opens his mouth and he's catching it like champagne froth. The bullet then pierces a small brown baby's head, killing it instantly. Cut back to the American hero soldier. He pulls out a picture of Osama bin Laden standing next to his friends from his breast pocket. In the picture, Osama bin Laden slowly fades away like from Back to the Future until he has disappeared completely. The soldier pumps his fist in approval. In place of where Osama bin Laden was in the photo, the Penis Hunter logo emerges in its place.
Yes.
Then a metal embossed logo goes over the screen and is riveted in place. And then there's an engine throttle noise and the logo does a burnout like a car. End of montage. Exterior, Louisiana State Coxtacle Course, day. Jimmy is standing next to Tyler Bowflex in the middle of the Coxtacle Course. Tyler is dressed in athletic clothes. His shorts have been modified to let his penis hang out of the front, but only the penis. His testicles are hidden.
All right, let's welcome our first contestant. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Tyler.
Jimmy immediately starts eyeing Tyler's penis.
Hello, my name is Tyler Bowflex. I'm from Salisbury Steak, Omaha, United States. I'm here to prove to America that I've got the toughest penis in America.
Jimmy licks his lips.
Looks pretty tough. Mind if I give it a tug?
Go for it.
Tyler becomes instantly erect. Jimmy gives it several hearty tugs.
Whoa.
Jimmy breaks a sweat. Tyler crosses his arms. A smug look comes across his face.
Oh, whoa, that's pretty tough. It's putting up quite the fight.
Thanks. I'm not even flexing it all the way.
Jimmy backs off, clearly tuckered out. He wipes the sweat off his brow. He has a sure smile.
Impressive. But let's see how it holds up against a steamroller.
Tyler goes instantly flaccid.
A what?
A steamroller runs over Tyler's penis.
Oh, shit. Ow. Oh, shit. Ow. My penis. Ow. Ouch. Ow. Ooh. Ow.
The end. End of scene. The end. Thank you. That was really, the performances were you really brought it. I can't see you with these sunglasses that well either.
I am I'm so glad I didn't volunteer to read. I was like, oh well, if nobody volunteers, I guess I'll have to read. But I'm so fucking glad. Oh my god. And I know the casting wasn't intentional, but that was perfectly fucking cast. If you had to pick, if you had previewed the script beforehand and asked me, okay, who should play each of these parts, I don't think I could have picked better than pure random chance did. Oh my god, man, that was so. I gotta talk about the fucking montage. I have to talk about the montage because back when I was in Virginia, 13 and I were got hooked on this fucking like shitty like American Ninja knockoff series on Netflix called like Beastmaster or something, or and that you so perfectly satirize the goofy like vibe of one of those shows with the montage, and the shit with Osama bin Laden and the bullet, and just when you think you know where the joke is going, this is just fucking genius, man. You almost killed me. I'm so I'm so glad that I devoted like 10 years of my life to misery tourism, if only because if I hadn't, I, this beautiful piece of art would never have existed. Thank
That's
you.
that's a very big compliment for that.
Yeah,
I-
the montage I really love. The riveting, I think, was well riveting. Yeah.
I mean, art's supposed to be a challenge, and I really had a hard time, scraping the bottom of the barrel, to get all that together. Thank you.
Oh, John, thank you. So David is next.
All right. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna follow
Sorry.
that. Some fucking serious, fucking morbid poetry. All right, so I'm just gonna read 2 poems tonight. So the first one's called "The Captain," and it's kind of related to the poem I read last week. So I see the captain with his Whitman beard and Hebrew tongue watch with ardent eyes his cargo of carrion. Their bones twitching arthritis, grumbling with mouths full of toast crumbs, waiting to embark on his half-drowned cathedral of mossy time. His is a pilgrimage through jetsam, fecal matter, condoms and sertraline screams. Only the captain with his barnacle-crusted nails, whose tongue transcribes the weight of sorrow, knows the featureless landscape of the other horizon. Only his eyeless sockets know the symmetry of stars. Your choir of ornate girls, fleshless as seaweed, their voices wrapped in gin, grieve in their dungarees on the bow, matching their words to the rhythm of the waves. What does the face of God look like? The old and young wonder as the night pierces their once golden eyes blind. Give them details, facts, the sounds of eternity, something divine, something only you would know. But your anorexic lips, as thin as pennies, remain sealed. The young, averting your apertures, throw garlands at your unwashed feet with one hand, and in the other hold a hanger, keeping straight the untinctured skin, like suits, kept creaseless, covered for the big day, when it will pay to look your best. The old, the middle-aged, those too long in time, too broken to give way to such painful tomfoolery, sit with their half-filled in crosswords and cry about their children, about the things they never would have done, about the simple clues they only now figured out. A few drunk bastards with their ideals like fallen leaves in their hands, quote Neruda with topaz tongues and with wide-eyed grins, carry daisies like sabers before scarring the sky with their green signatures. But poetry holds no weight here. The romantics, out of time, out of fashion, are slap-jawed, Gestapo broken and return drooling. A warning to the twitchers, the lonely-hearted cowards who slept with their grey despairs and did nothing, who look to the horizon waiting for a line of distinction between sky and sea and think, what if? Captain of the painted waves, they are broken in the receding tide. Carry them to their mother's grave on the other side of those dark waters. Let them cease below the mountain with no name. Carry them with tender arms of night. Give them carnations of red. Speak to them with words not molested by time. Let them know the feeling of fresh sheets, the warmth of a partner grasped for after a bad dream and found. Carry them safe and clean. Please show something, give some inkling, if only one. For one day I will stand in your carcass of the deep to be transported to this new land. And I'll feel not your name, but the journey, the slow capitulation under hours made heavy by the limits of hope. So I ask you for a smile, a human look from your lifeless mask. For fears crawl into my waking thoughts as a spider crawls into the sleeping mouth. And then this is called a series of lists. So it's like so 1, a bridge is being built. 2, a father is hanging his clothes on the washing line as if they were artifacts of grief. It frames the lock into 2 realities. It frames his body in 2. 3, the lower. The white legs, thick as honeycombs, the odd socks, the bare feet on a Scottish winter morning, the grime of the depths collecting in the crevices of his toes, and the hair like marram grass falls in waves upon the shores of his thighs. 4, the upper. His beer belly is a horizontal hillside. No, a bumper car to chart a course through the supermarkets he despises. His complexion, ruddy, like nerdy boys on the precipices of puberty. His hair, what's left of it, is constantly on end, as if life is just one continual big shock. Each strand a flag in the wind, and the eyes of the buried cosmos of a man. He is a junkie en route to his paradise of tears and eternity, a supplication to the waters, to the Lord, to the big JC, or Muhammad with his illiterate brain, inking Gabriel's words, direct from the big mystery himself, the truth of the world and all its matter. And yet, he is as isolated as a paedophile. 5, rubble. A man is a pile of rubble. He contains only hiccups of meaning. His is a jumbled sale of bad advice and too much drink, a chaser of failed lusts and misanthropic dreams. Down it, down it. 6. He is a mixed metaphor no one bothered to correct, and the ghost of his youth, grim-eyed in Chicago, is reflected in light, in shadow. Thank you.
David, I think you may have just cut out.
Oh, I just said thank you. Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, I guess I got a little hypnotized there. David, holy fucking shit. Oh my God. So every line in these poems is gorgeously written. I'm in awe of the language you use here and the like really, really vivid imagery, right? And it's one of those things where like the language and the imagery come together like so gorgeously and so perfectly. The final line of the first poem, the spider crawling into an open mouth line, I shuddered. Like I can't think, because can you like think of a more like primally disturbing image than that, right? Like I remember hearing somewhere that they'll show babies like pictures or like videos of like the movement of spiders and the movement of snakes, and there's a primal like genetic inherited response to the way spiders and snakes move that's not experienced when they show them like anything else, right? So that image like exists on just such a like inborn and terrifying level, and it's just so beautifully in keeping with like everything that came before it, just like the just like growing oppressive darkness of all of the oddly like very bleak but also very beautiful images throughout the poems. It's really fucking good, David. It's really fucking good. Thank you for sharing that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you had to read that immediately after John. But, like,
What's that supposed to mean? What did you mean by that?
I mean,
mine was just so low art, and yours was just the pinnacle. So, yeah. A good juxtaposition.
I mean, this shit's about nothing if not tonal whiplash, right? So let's see. Gabe is up next. Let's see if what he has to offer is something just completely fucking different too.
I'm gonna put Will, I know I gave you a link, but I'm gonna put another one in the chat first. And it's just this other poem.
Gotcha. I'll wait for you to put it in, and then I will. I'll put it in the link for the other one.
So I'm supposed to perform this at this event tomorrow, so I just kind of wanted to see how it sounds. On grace and extermination. I've been at Home Depot for so long today. Old lonely guys try breaking the ice. Are we men or are we mice? While I am dwarfed before this wall of death, devices to ensure a rodent's demise. Every execution argues its method more humane. The breathtaking speed of Victor's neck snap, or the slower sanctity, Tomcat's sticky trap. Still alive, still intact, have mercy, act fast into the trash so you don't have to watch it die. But I'm watching the world now through the eyes of a woman who wouldn't hurt a fly. It's not the size of the living. Wait, hold on. I might be missing half of this. Hold on. Okay, sorry, I fucked up. We'll move on. All right, these came out a couple weeks ago. This first one's called Come on My Bedside, Dennis Cooper novel. I do love Dennis Cooper, but he is not who did this to me. My DNA smeared, faint translucent streaks on the veil of his litany. Incidental, collateral, damage depository. From a touch, the thrust, climax, the rush to drowsy nod in agreement. I had a dream. We judge a man by the content of his character, not the characters of his content. So I promise it wasn't his content. Instead, it's merely my contents. Indebted to her naked in my bed now, our embodiment of contentment.
Dude, like, I think somebody had a question. Did we miss a question?
Sorry, Gabe, go on.
Oh,
Okay, Jerome.
This one's called In the Event Before Forever. Remember, I'm only a tourist, just passing through. Some prior convictions, minor, but no more commitments. But wait, aren't you the host of the event? Yes, forever, overzealous, long overdue, parasitic, stud, sisyphus, syphilitic, expiration date tattooed on my blood, objective to coagulate, don't dilute. Forever unprepared to do time with these eyes, but if not me, then who? That deadly mode of turn backs around the premises, aghast, they remind me why I came, where the getaway car is parked. When we race back to nowhere, I hope you remember my name. And that's it.
Gabe, these are awesome. I hesitate, knowing, you know, that you come from a musical background, I hesitate to call your work punk. But these poems are punk as shit, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, no, I'd wear that with pride.
because like the what's the word, like the, not just like the concision of them, right? Not just like the fact that they go, you know, that they like roll along so quickly with the like short line breaks and stuff, but just the content. It's got that like kind of like pithy, like anti-authoritarian thing going. And I love the like the I had a dream, we judge a man by the content of his character, not the characters of his content. That's such a great fucking turn of phrase. But not only that, but where it comes, where it comes where it arrives in that poem, right, prevents it from being like some pretentious statement of like, it amplifies it, right? Because like it comes almost, it arrives almost as a punchline in the midst of this thing. So it doesn't become like this moralizing moment. Instead, it becomes part of this like this more subversive kind of work. I'm gonna stop talking about these because I'm not going to be able to like control the words I use. I wanted, but man, you left the first one on a punchline, not a punchline, a cliffhanger.
I know, and that was the one I was most trying to focus on too. I'm supposed to perform it tomorrow, and yeah, I can't believe I left. Yeah, I left you guys with only half of it, so I didn't want to take any more.
I will say I really like how it opens though, and so I my parents are working on the house. My dad is replacing a couple of floors, so I've made more than a few trips to not Home Depot, but Lowe's, which is basically Home Depot, over the
Yeah.
course of the last few weeks. And there is something, oh, here we go. Anyway, and there's
Why did they do that?
something
Sorry.
like uniquely just bleak about the inside of a hardware store. And I love the way
Oh,
he
yeah.
used it as the setup for the wall of death moment. It's just the perfect.
There's always a guy that wants to talk to you that's probably just trying to kill time because his wife's maybe in the car, and he said, he's just said it'll just be a minute, but it's like his bonding time with other males. It's like, yeah, really strange every time.
Anyway, Gabe, those were awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, so I was next, but if you can wave me on for anybody else that wants to go, since I've got a demo.
Gotcha. So I think the only one after you is emoji that looks like someone's face with their tongue sticking out. I think that's Michelle. I think that's Grapes. Is that you?
That is me. Yes.
And then
confirmed.
So we will do Grapes, you can be up, and then after you is Derek. And Sam
Okay.
after Derek.
So I'm just reading a longer format poem than usual, and it's inspired by Tyler and I's conversation about my vagrant lifestyle in the past. So here we go. It's titled, "And I Walked Alone Through the Night." My friend said I couldn't sleep over, and I didn't really have other friends to ask. I also wasn't welcome home either. Having nowhere to sleep or be after awkwardly asking my friend who said no went like this. Walking through the city towards my ex-husband's, I made it to Chez His nearly at 5 a.m. Chez His being his now girlfriend's place. I sent him a text but couldn't ring the bell when I got there. Out all night on the train, walking towards my next destination continually. I kept walking, arriving next to PS1 where I entered offices at first, which I thought were art. In the offices, I doodled in my free Bible turned sketchbook. I had gotten into the museum too by donating a couple feathers I found on the way. At the museum at PS1 for all of 30 minutes before being escorted out, I forgot my notebook in the office. Tired and awake, I took the train onto somewhere. Thanks, guys.
I think I said something similar to this about one of the last pieces you read, but I have to say it again because it struck me upon hearing you read this, which is you are so good at capturing a moment in time, at taking what I'd like at a passing glance seems like a very mundane moment and finding like this real like emotional intensity and emotional intimacy to that moment, and not just finding that, but expressing it in a way that immediately communicates to the reader or the listener, like, oh yeah, I know that feeling, I've had that feeling, not in those exact circumstances, but you know immediately what's being felt, and it's a real gift. So thank you for sharing that, Michelle.
Thank you.
And Derek is up next. Derek is up next with a piece that definitely doesn't have a morbid title that's making me a little concerned.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
This is totally outside of my normal whatever, but I appreciate y'all humoring me. I don't think this is a little ridiculous. As I wrote to Josh privately like a few minutes ago, I'm going to read something truly terrible. Instructions upon my death. There is a 9.7 mile out and back trail, Iceberg Lake Trail in Glacier National Park, Montana. Park at the Swift Current Motor Inn before embarking. There is a park cafe and grocery near the east entrance in St. Mary, Montana, which sells an assortment of delicious homemade pies. You may light a candle at the oldest church in the contiguous United States, San Miguel Mission, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I certainly have, and it brought me a sense of peace, calm, clarity. Please do not work too hard or too much, particularly in the service of other people's wealth accumulation. It is far more important to get to know trees, forests, streams, and the like. The books and records can become holy objects when blessed with your attention and awareness. Please treat them as guideposts and breadcrumbs and not as canon. Pave your own way. Discard what must be discarded. Follow your own pain and joy to enliven your third eyesight. There are rooms you should not enter. Do so regardless. I found much of my own pain in reflection of the self. I broke several mirrors, bloodied knuckles. I disassociated and derealized. It is frightening, but these are not mental defects, but rather conditions of existence. Seek love and grace. Take care to protect the trails left for you and work tirelessly to create some of your own. We are messengers of peace and love. Provide comfort and light where you find struggle and darkness. The world is always ending. Every generation believes their own to be the last or close to it. And yet, many souls will follow you and look to the instructions you left to guide them through their own suffering. Speak to them truthfully, gently. Point them in the direction of beauty and homemade pie.
The world is always ending. Fuck. Derek, this is really good. What are you set this up, I don't know, in a really self-deprecating way that this is, I don't know.
Oh, what's this? Is the word, I was trying to think of the word. It's saccharine. Is that the right word? Is that how you pronounce it or whatnot?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's just not, I'm not comfortable in this style at all, right? Like this sort of, but you know what? And here's the other reason that I say the cheesy thing. Do you remember the Sunscreen song by Baz Luhrmann that was terrible? Terrible. And like, this has got to be late 90s, right? Maybe early thousands. It was like a list of instructions for kind of like how to live your life. And it was just cloyingly saccharine and whatever. I just always hated it. And anyway, anytime I've ever tried to write anything like an open letter or anything to my son or daughter or whatever, you know, because obviously that's who you're talking to, it always ends up sounding like that. And like anytime anyone of any age, I feel like tries to distill or whatever, it sounds like that. So anyway, so that's what I mean by that. It's not the typical, you know, like not the way that I'm comfortable, whatnot. So I had to hide my face in shame so that also like no one can connect, you know, the dots of who this is. But I do appreciate letting me read it because I do kind of have something obviously that I like about it. You know.
See, Derek, I think it avoids falling into exactly the trap that you describe. If anything, I think it subverts the trap that you described, because first of all, because of the way it's structured, right? Because it opens very directly with, and you almost think it's going to be like instructions for the actual scattering of your ashes or something. And I think that's effective because you don't immediately launch into the like moral lesson. And then you arrive at the lesson. And if you had stopped at like bullet point, I don't know, 4 or something, I might have been inclined to agree with you. But what happens is you keep going. And as you keep going, you keep building uncertainty about your moral lesson, right? You keep building ambiguity and finally arrive at a kind of bleak and sad point that doesn't nullify everything that came before, but that complicates it, right? And that final point, like about how the world is always ending and how like every generation kind of thinks it's going to be the last, is, I think, kind of the perfect way to end a piece that's fundamentally about death and grief. And that I think, like, I don't want to speak for you, but was probably written in grief, right? Written kind of as a way of...
Right, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I could be wrong on that too, right? Like, it's very different when you're writing, you know, well, I don't know. I'm also a terrible judge of everything. But no, I appreciate it. I do think that point is very important to me in terms of, you know, the world is always ending. It becomes important, I think, with, you know, frankly, when you have kids, right? Because that can't be the answer, right? And so when you're in an age of collapse, which like clearly we are in, you know, one form or another here, culturally, society, whatever, you have to find, well, what is, you know, whatever. And you're just thinking like, well, it takes a long time for things to collapse, right? And so since there's going to be a lot of souls, you know, coming in through during this collapse, you have to point the way towards something. And that's what I actually think of literature, music, art, you know, film, all that stuff, is that it is these little breadcrumbs that we leave behind to say, I was fucking here and this was beautiful, and this meant something to me. And maybe when I'm not here, you just seeing this and experiencing something that I experienced will connect us across eternities. But anyway, thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, no, Derek, I agree with you. And I think I really like what you just said, though, about like how many generations are going to have to go through collapse, right? Like, because I was actually thinking about the same fucking thing the other day in the backseat of the car, just kind of staring into space, like how incremental collapse is. Like, how many times just in our lifetime alone have we gone through these crises that were like framed to us as being like society ending crises? Like there was the war in Iraq, and then there was there was 9/11, followed by the wars, followed by the Great Recession, followed by Trump, and now the current whatever it is, supply chain.
And all of these things in terms of 100 years from now are going to be told in 2 sentence breaths. Do you know what I mean? Like even to the point where, I mean, I even think about terms of like, you know, Reagan saying, you know, the Cold War is over outside the wall, connected to Russia then invading Ukraine however many years later. These things are not like separate things in history. It's just that we're alive and things happen slowly when you're alive. So you're like, this thing is over. Now it's the new thing. But it's not. I mean,
no,
you know,
it's all part of the same cycle. This cycle that might, as you said, take generations. You know, maybe society is collapsing, and maybe our grandchildren will be like, oh, like I guess grandma and grandpa had it okay, right? Like they'll be walking around in the fucking wasteland or whatever, but it's really unlikely that we will be, knock on wood. And so we're in the midst of this thing, and that's like, this piece really gives perspective. And I think because it gives perspective, that final piece kind of like is a sort of saying like, hey, even I don't know shit, right? And that admission at the end, I think, as I said before, it complicates everything that comes before and prevents it from easily sliding into this, like, you know, this kind of like John Lennon, like, here are some instructions for life kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you,
Thank
Derek.
you so much.
Yeah, man. Sorry I fucking went off there, but yeah, thank you, Derek.
As an author who, future author who has Derek Main writing the foreword to his book, I also really enjoyed what Derek Main just wrote. But no, I really did. And I don't think it's too saccharine. I actually think saccharine, I know what he's saying, but that's just, but I'm not the one to judge because I actually have an infinite capacity for saccharine stuff. I was just burned my hand on my shitty wine tip cigar, so I'm just gonna tune myself out now.
Thank you, Josh. Actually, Keith just sent me a message and reminded me of Y2K. So that like 2000, even
Y2K in Florida. I was 13. I was in a motel room, and my mom, I was 13. She was like, "You want to go out, whatever?" And I stayed inside and watched S Club 7. The show, not the pop group, but the show was just on, and I was like, "No, Mom, because I had a thing for Hannah in S Club 7." Anyways, I just stayed inside, and that's how I rung in Y2K. But yeah,
I have no memory. Y2K, I would have been what, 16? I would have been 16 years old. I have no idea. I probably was sitting there fucking playing Nintendo 64 or whatever. I don't know. I certainly
was any other night.
Anything.
It was any other night, basically.
All right. So, gotta look at my list here because I lost her. Sam is next.
All right, I'm probably just gonna read 2 short poems that I'm working on. So this first one's called, can you hear me? By the way,
Perfectly.
okay. Uh, all right, this one's called Making Friends, comma, for Tom. Let my poems be gestures, brow raises, shared grins with strangers across the bar at a well-timed joke. That's it. And then this one's called When It's Warm Out. There are no mosquitoes in spring. They're still tentative, waiting out of instinct to spawn, fearful of cold snaps that evaporate whole generations. Storms precipitate from nothing and make noises like they want to shatter my bedroom window, sounding like a trash can thrown against the wall just downstairs. No dam breaks. Too much water falls on an inclined plane and destroys every photograph in everyone's basements. Blood leaks when I slap a mosquito on my arm, and filth from the heat and air coats to a thin film when I'm outside for more than 2 minutes. Violated by a tick after walking through tall grass, I slowly heat a lighter to press against it and then carefully peel it away. And that's it. That's all I got.
Sam, you just made me feel empathy for a fucking mosquito.
Oh yeah, that's the point.
No, but I mean, it's good. It's so fucking. First of all, this is very different from what you've read in the past. Like, often your pieces are these kind of sprawling epics of short stories, right? With a lot of repetition, with a lot, and this is so different. This is so concise. This is so precise. Both of these poems are so concise and so precisely written. And oh my God, the fucking mosquito poem. The way it opens with this, like the frailty, like of life, the idea that like one act that we would think is small and insignificant can wipe out an entire generation. And the way that you only hold on to that for a second, right? Like you only hold on to the like frailty of this mosquito's life long enough for us to feel empathy for the mosquito. And then you remind us how fucking obnoxious they are. And then you shift it again back to like this moment of reflection on our own like human frailty and insignificance. It's fucking really good. You do a hell of a fucking lot in a few short lines, Sam. And yeah,
thank you.
It's fucking good. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And last up before Rudy, Ayo, am I saying that yet? Right? Io?
Yeah, it's Io actually.
Io, okay.
And
Hey, Io, do you have a Twitter you want me to link?
sure, I'm at Eric Enemy.
How do you spell it?
You know what? I can just drop it in.
Oh, you draw. Okay, cool. Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
And yeah, turned on my terrible security camera right here. So yeah, I've been thinking about Eris as well, pretty much. I have every day, and I don't know how to write about her yet, notes and tweets and stuff, but sometimes I think of her in things I've already written, like the one I read at the memorial. And there's this thing I wrote about how knowing someone changes you. Then there is this one. Actually, well, I'm going to read just this short poem and then a couple of things that I don't really know what they are, which are also very short. And yeah, this poem, actually, I invited her to this Zoom reading, and I thought I might read it if she came. It's called I No Longer Remember, or The Beach is Like Lava. I sat there, blanket wrapped and draped around me, the waves whispering through the rocks, rows of them tumbled onto pavement, a boy whose name I no longer remember, sleeping by his rusty car, a whole beach in the middle of nowhere, rocks and red road fringing the trees. We could be Eve hungover and had passed out, just out of the garden, so still is this place, so empty of anyone else. Where we are, I cannot say, and will not be able to say. Where it blurs with the night, disappears on maps I did not see. One day I imagine I will not remember the car or the way it shook across the roads or the dust through the floorboards. Will not remember the praying mantis that landed on the windshield the night before, a visitor green as grass, interrupted in flight by a car screaming and laboring through dark air. The boy is one of too many, one whose name and face I want to forget, one of several questionable decisions I make and made that night. But as I vomited in the pool of light in the car's headlights on the side of the road, and the grass rising like a forest all around us, I heard the grass sway and the ocean in the distance and the chug of the engine. And in the morning, as I sit here, I no longer remember sleeping, only the heat of the sun and the waves wrapped in light and the years slowly ticking off. Oh. Okay, and yeah, like these just sort of came out. I feel, excuse me, I feel like Los Angeles will always make me think of you, and October will always make me think of you, and July, and San Francisco, and Dior, and astrology, and Hello Kitty, and Dark Eyes, and Smith's lyrics scrawled in a notebook, and LA, by which I mean the Valley, and false nails, and false eyelashes, and the lusty lady, and 2012, and 1992, and the word ruthless, and 92nd Street, and 24th Street, and Muni, and the Richmond, and CCSF, and the fog. August 4th. For half a second, I think of today, and my mind flashes October 16th. Was this half of a dream? I wish it were last October 16th. I'll find you, reintroduce myself, say I'm sorry I missed your birthday, say it's too soon to say this, but I love you, don't die. Thank you.
Those were fucking beautiful, man. That I want to talk about that first poem, because that first poem is so like delicately and beautifully written, and that just like the sheer number of just like really precise evocative images in that poem, the vomiting in the pool of light from the car's headlights moment. Oh my God. And the way that's presented in the poem and the way it's constructed, like it's almost like this like otherworldly kind of transformative moment where you think like at first it's almost like you know, like the cliche about going into the light, it's almost like this moment of death or transcendence, and then you get pulled back down to earth with the headlights. There are so many small moments in the poem like that with these really vivid, emotionally stirring images. And as far as the last couple are concerned, yeah, I think about her all the time too. This is the first, I'm going to be completely frank, this is the first Misery Loves Company that has even begun to feel like, oh, it like just another Misery Loves Company, right? This is one of the first ones that hasn't felt like an act of mourning, you know, that hasn't, at least not entirely felt like an act of mourning. And anyway, yeah, thank you for sharing those. Those were beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
So last up tonight, Rudy has a game to share.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna link it.
Talk about a return to normalcy.
Yep. I'll link it in the chat, but don't join the same game as we are at. We won't be able to get in. Me and William are gonna demo it here, I guess. So this is a game that is basically, I guess, my mulatto whale, if you want to call it that. I don't know. There's white whales, you gotta have the mulatto whale, but yeah, or my Ovaltine whale or chocolate whale, I don't know, but it's a game about gender, I guess, and yeah, it involves, I'm not going to talk about it, I'm not going to talk because it's going to take a long time. I mean, I'll explain it as I go, basically. So yeah, what do you want to call the thing? Because I'm gonna share my screen here. Is it okay if
Up
I
to you,
share?
Rudy. It's up to you, Rudy.
Okay, I'll start it up then. No, don't want to do that. Okay, everybody see her?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's call it oh, I hope nobody what do they call it? Stream snipes me or whatever. Okay, so
Stream snipes you in your own fucking game.
let's call it PP.
Okay. Yep,
And
it
let
looks
me know
like I
when
got
you're
in, so we didn't get sniped.
all right. So here we go. I'm gonna start it up.
Okay.
As you can see, there's a few new things here. I might have to raise my. That's all right. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the board. There's various pieces on the board. Some of you might remember this game from the last time I demoed it, where the pieces were like in rows and shit, but now it's all random, so it's a totally random board basically. I think William, you're red player.
I'm red player. Okay.
Yep. So I think it's your turn to go. But first, before you do, let me just explain a little bit about it. So the objective now, there's one objective. It's just to destroy all the opponent's pieces. So I'm blue. These are my pieces here you're looking at. They're all, I won't talk about too much about the inspiration for the game or the pieces now, but as you can see there, you have things like a male space, male violence, male libido. Libido is a kind of big piece, bigger than it is now, or bigger than it was before. But the objective is to, I don't know if you can see this. Can you guys see the hourglass on the right-hand side of the screen here? Or is my thing covering? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that, basically each one of these pieces has a timer associated with it, and you can flip the piece, and just like an hourglass, the hourglass will flip too. And when you do that, the gender of the piece changes. So these, as you can see, are all started as male. But if I were to flip the piece, which I can do once the game will start, it'll become a female of the piece with an opposite amount of hourglass sand, or well, digital hourglass sand in it. So one of the key mechanics is basically controlling time, flipping the pieces so that they're the state that you want them in. That's basically it. But William knows a little bit more about it, and I'll let him start it off.
So
whenever
Rudy,
you're ready.
I have to ask, should I be seeing the like male space, male gaze labels on my version?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not. And I'm not
You
seeing the hearts either. I would
Hmm.
so what I'm seeing is
Yeah.
is there a way, I guess what I can do is, what would be the best way to show you what I'm
Oh, actually,
yeah.
are you running this in what do you call it, incognito browser?
No.
Okay, try that.
Oh, I see.
In fact, I'll get out. I'll stop the share real quick.
Okay.
Because I did update it just today, so you're probably gonna need to.
How do I do an incognito tab in Firefox?
Not sure about Firefox, but in Chrome you can just go to
open it
new.
up in Chrome and hope
Either way, it should work in
Let's see
Firefox
what
or Chrome.
happens if I open it up in Chrome.
So I'll refresh that. I'll use the same game name though. PP.
Okay, I don't have it in an incognito tab yet, but it did load again.
Oh, well, you want to load it in an incognito tab if you've loaded it before. So
I haven't loaded it before on Chrome.
okay, gotcha. Do you see a thing at the bottom? If you go to the PP lobby, do you see a thing that says tooltips in the bottom left?
Yes.
Checkbox. Okay,
Yes,
then you're good.
okay.
You didn't see that before, correct?
I don't remember seeing that before.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again here. Let's try it again. Yeah. Okay, good. So everybody can see that, right? So I'm gonna start it up again. As you'll notice, it's gonna be another random board, so random placement of pieces again. So alrighty, I think you're still red, so you would get the first move. And
Let's see,
yeah,
let's see. Oh yeah, now I have the labels and stuff.
gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
So just for reference for you and for everybody else, so the libido piece, when you capture a piece that has one of these red hearts, that if that means, first of all, the red hearts mean that your libido piece wants you to capture that gender of piece. So if I were to capture these should be male. As you can see, male is my target. So the libido wants me to capture those, but I can flip my libido to make it female, and that plays into the strategy too. So, yep.
How
But
do you,
that's
how do you flip?
right mouse button is flip. So
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Okay. I'm
you
gonna
just right click a piece to flip it. Yep.
okay. I'm gonna try something. Oops, I have to hit go. Hit go.
Mhm.
Flip
Okay,
that.
so you flip that.
Wait, I'm trying to try. Oh no, I'm running out of time. Oh no.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm gonna move some
Okay.
guys around. I'm not really sure. Oh, I was trying to move your guys around.
Yep. So you're
Okay.
red, I'm blue. Okay. So I'm gonna look at the board, see some strategy here. It looks like during that time, some of the pieces ran out of time. So these are locked. They're what's called gender locked. So no sand in the hourglass. So as you can see, some of these pieces, like this is a space piece. So this one, when it's gender locked, it can capture pieces from its space that it's on. So if the space is the same gender as that piece. So let's say this one here. Well, I'll just show you. I'll just show around here. Let me see what I'm gonna do here. First of all, I'm trying to again eliminate all the pieces from the board. We'll see what happens here. Let's see. So I think my best bet, if I want to get a heart, I have to capture a female. So I'm just looking for female pieces. Let's see. So you can see these are female. So I think I'm gonna go for that one because I think I can get my piece there. As you can see, this is the one it wants me to go for. So I'll go for that one. So I just made a heart. What hearts do is they spawn additional hearts every 6 seconds. Not real time, but every 6 seconds game time. Every 6 seconds the game's not paused. They'll spawn more hearts. And those will let me score because hearts can capture other pieces, but they don't count towards this score up here, which is 5-5 right now.
Sorry that I'm
So,
laughing. I
but-
just saw Gabe's comment. I'm really stoned and this is blowing my mind.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
So it's back to you. Like I said, I got a heart in the center of the board here.
Okay. All
And
right.
that's basically
Let's
that.
see what I can do.
So strategically, I mean, I don't want to.
No,
what do they call
tell
it,
me what to
quarterback?
do. Tell me what
I
to
don't
do.
want to
I have no
quarterback, but-
fucking idea what I'm doing.
Okay, so basically, you want to try to. So this heart here is surrounded by two. It has two pieces here.
Mhm.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces free around it. So the more of those you can cover up, the better, because that's less chance and less hearts it'll be spawned.
I see.
So if you can cover those up, then you still have a real chance.
Yeah, I continue to have no idea about how I would ever actually succeed at capturing in this game, but I will make an
okay.
attempt to. Oops,
Okay.
wait, I'm red.
Oops, oh, you're red. Yeah.
But I will make an attempt
Uh-oh.
to do what you just suggested. Which
Okay. Yeah. So far, you're doing it.
there. That's all I can do.
Okay. Well, it's still your turn, I think. So.
I don't
Oh,
I
there
don't
you
have any other pieces I can move.
Okay. So these gaze pieces flip from male gaze to female gaze. So that means both of them just locked each other. So that's actually good for both of us, because that means they can't harass the rest of these pieces. So what I'm going to try to do now, I have 2 of these hearts. These hearts, as you can see, my libido wants females, I guess. So I'm going to go for this female that my libido wants. And this here is locked as a male, so I would probably want to go for this one up here. See, it's got the heart there. That means my libido wants it. So let's ride on that. And on this one, I'll go for that too. And I'm going to try. Oh, nope, ran out of time. So now the score is 5-3. I was able to capture those pieces using those extra heart pieces. So I didn't sacrifice any of my main pieces to do that. So that's good for me, I guess. Right now, strategically, I'm not sure. You might. What does your libido say? I did leave your libido intact.
I don't know.
I mean, what is your top? In purple text. What
oh,
are you
male is my target.
Mill is your target. Okay.
Not
So that's
that.
gonna
I
be-
mean, as far as this thing is indicating, there are no pieces of my. I only have one piece that can move and it can't capture. So what I'm gonna do is and it's locked too. So I'm just gonna move it and wait.
No, actually, that piece can capture.
Oh, it did. Oh, yeah.
if it's-
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see
Oh,
that.
sure.
Oh, okay. There you go. So you managed to stem the tide of the blues a little. The blue art's coming, I guess, a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, let's see. Let's take a look here. So I think I can win this pretty easily.
Well, I mean, I think
I think it's pretty much
functionally you
over.
already have. Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
would actually end the game. So that's a win, I guess. And so now the only win state is basically just kill all the pieces
Uh-huh.
because the timer
uh-huh.
shit was a little too complex.
Gotcha.
So
I
let's-
continue to have no idea how this game is played. I continue to be completely dumbfounded by the movement rules of this game.
Right. What's dumbfounding?
I mean, I just think there's a lot of
complexity.
complexity to this game.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of complexity that is very hard for my word cell brain to to grasp, because I don't play spatial strategy. I fucking suck at chess, right? And this is like
This is kind of it's not.
this is
I
like
guess it's not really
chess
just.
if this is like chess, but one of those chess games you see people playing in sci-fi movies like that.
Yeah. See that's actually the vibe. Yeah.
The scene in Star Wars where they're moving the fucking holographic aliens around, or that fucking 8-dimensional tower chessboard that they have in Star Trek or whatever. I look.
Oh yeah.
This gives me similar vibes in terms of just being it just in terms of the additional complexity of the piece movements and also just the broader vibe of the
vibe of the
tentacle
piece.
monster
Yeah.
pieces and shit like that.
Well, let's try another round, and then if somebody else wants to jump in, for some reason, then try it.
Yeah, what if I guess you can't screen share it then. I was gonna say you should have
yeah.
2 people unfamiliar with the game.
Oh, that's a good
playing
idea.
against each other.
Maybe they could screen share if there's
One
any
of them could
volunteers.
screen share it.
Someone could screen share it. Yeah.
Does one of the people who's higher than a motherfucker?
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, there's just no way I would be able to figure out the mechanics.
I'm so tempted, but I would mud up the whole thing.
And it's decided. Derek
I'd be a
versus
serious
Gabe.
liability.
You know
I don't know if it'll work on a phone. So you might be off the hook if you got a phone or something. But
how about
you do need a mouse for it? But
how about I know we have some actual gamers in the audience here. How about Mullane and Brandon? Are either of you willing to give this a spin?
Yeah, but I don't know it. I don't understand it either. So
that's good. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, I'm equally clueless here.
Good.
Nice. I'll try to talk you through it. How about that?
Which of you is most comfortable
share.
doing the screen share?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I was gonna say my connection's been kind of unstable, so that's probably a good idea.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I want to see the famous Mullane tabs.
No. Okay, as you were speaking, actually, I pulled the hourglass tab out to make a separate window to screen share.
Oh yeah.
So no one would see it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll put it back in if you want.
Mullane says finally I can score with females. Hell yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just a second. Yeah, just a second.
Hell yeah. So first you want to put in whatever room name and just give that to the other person. Just say whatever you're putting in. Balls. So that makes you the host, but don't hit go yet. Wait for whoever B-boy is it that's playing. challenge. Holy shit, that's a lot of tabs. I just saw.
Looks like I'm in or
It's
connected.
not even that many.
You know, Rudy will attest to the fact that I'm another person who has like a billion tabs open, but I accomplished a fucking incredible symbolic feat. I closed every tab on my Firefox
Holy shit.
browser after sending my last Misery Tourism
Slow
acceptance
clap.
email.
Damn.
That's low key ego death. Like I appreciate that.
It is. It's something in me is gone forever now. Anyway, sorry guys.
Well,
Hey,
if
is
you
mine?
hit-
Sorry, it went away.
Oh, okay. If you hit go, I think that should start it up.
Okay.
And probably for you guys, you want to keep the tooltips on unless you're really feeling crazy. Even I want to keep the tooltips on for me because I don't. Yeah. Anyway. So I think red player goes first. So that's B-Boy, I believe. So B-Boy,
Looks like it.
if you assess the board, okay, so just for the basics, like the controls, left click will target a piece, and you can left click on the piece, and then it'll show you a bunch of green squares or red squares if you can make captures. So basically, you just do that, and then after, but you want to hit green spaces are where you move, and red spaces are captures. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're not actually watching Brandon's screen.
Yeah.
So I'm clicking around, but it's not my turn.
Yep.
And I can't get it to actually do anything. So
Yeah, you're gonna want to assess the board to what you want to do. Make sure you can click on pieces.
oh, do I have to hit the go before I can do anything?
Yep, you do.
Okay.
And that puts time in. Oh, okay, so you're already moving. Damn, you're already moving pretty good here. Move some pieces. Hell yeah. All right, so and now the go is past the Mullane. So excellent.
Every time
So,
actor turns safe as your
So another important thing is if you right click a piece after you hit go, you can flip the piece. So that'll flip it to the opposite. You want to do it to your own. Yep. Now that one is gazed. So what happened there is the male gaze, I believe it was Brandon's male gaze at the top, paralyzed the piece so it can't flip, but it could still move. So back now play passes back to B-Boy.
Shit.
But it can still move, so you're good pretty much, and it's still got lots of time in it. One kind
Do I
of
keep
strategy.
moving it?
No, because it's not your turn right now.
Okay,
So
okay.
basically what happens is when you move, and then you get 6 seconds to move, and then it play passes to the other person. They get 6 seconds to move, play passes back to you,
Okay.
and on until you've killed each other's pieces, till you've killed all 6 of the pieces, and it's all 6 of these main pieces, these ones you see on the board now. Oh shit! Okay. Fascinating.
Everything's locked. What just happened?
So those pieces ran out of time, so they ran out of they gender lock, so they flipped over to the opposite gender and lock. That means they can't be flipped anymore. So Brandon captured that piece. However, I think at that time the libido was not having that, so you didn't get didn't get a heart for it. So, but still, that's still a capture. Hey, there you go. I mean, it takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So what you might want to do, Mullane, is right click that one to keep time in it. Oops.
Too late.
Too late. Now B-Boy, I think it's passed back to you. So I see in the north there you have a question mark piece.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I don't want to give away your position here, but you could potentially flip that one to keep time in it if you wanted to, and then then move it around somewhere, use its abilities or what if. Yeah. So I think I know which one it is, but yeah, what I would do, and again, not trying to quarterback here, but these pieces that are locked, these you both have locked pieces. The locked tentacle pieces, if you look at them, those are female space pieces, which means these pink spaces on the board, they can move onto those pink spaces and then capture from there. So if you
Hmm.
who's red has that tentacle piece in the northeast-ish, they could move it. Yep, that one right there. They could move it to the pink space adjacent to it and capture that male gaze if they wanted to. And that would, depending on what your libido is, though, it looks like your libido wants females though, so that might not be the best option. However, there are other females on the board, such as the enemy libido, and that's accessible to the pink space too. So, ooh.
So they're locked. That means they can't flip, but they can move.
They can still move. Yep. And that gaze is doing something. Yep. So that oh, okay. So that shows, that heart shows that that's a piece that your libido wants. So that's a female piece, right? But the gaze doesn't capture. The gaze just immobilizes other pieces. However, you still have time on the gaze. So if you wanted to, you could flip it to a female, which would be an immobilizing piece. It would immobilize other pieces, which would be pretty good. If you wanted to stop Brandon from taking out your libido, but you have to hit go first.
Can't move.
Oh no! Oh, it locked right after.
Oh.
I think
okay.
Was that good?
That was, yeah. I mean, actually, it is, because you have a piece. The tentacle monster there got onto a space of its color. So hey, there you go. So that's in a position to capture. Brandon, your pieces. So the violence at this point is pretty much a brick, because violence can't capture. Female violence can't capture when she can't flip. But you both have lots of tentacle monsters left. So those you could put to use, and both of your libidos want female. So it's an all-female board here. Oh, hey, all fucking. It's not a sausage fest at all. So you could definitely get some hearts going if you wanted to. I see lots of opportunities to get some hearts. Ooh. Okay, so that.
Yeah, I have no grasp of what the hell's going on.
That one. So that tentacle one is now locked by the gaze. So that male gaze just locked the tentacle one. So this is a good opportunity for Melaine to move up one of her tentacle monsters and capture that tentacle monster. But again, you'd have to do it after. Yeah. Oh, okay. You're just checking around. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out which is mine.
So you're
This
blue.
one, right?
You're blue. Yep. And B-boy is red.
So I could get up there.
Mm-hmm.
No dilly dallying, right?
Oops. Oh, okay.
Did I?
No, because that's not a bad position actually, because that B-boy's tentacle monster can't move. So that's not bad. That's not awful. But why I was
The hearts disappeared.
Oh, did they? Okay. Oh, well, when you move, yeah. But if you click that tentacle monster again, you should see hearts there, because I think it shows that that's what that's the ones you want. So you're actually in a good position now. Let's see. Okay. Okay.
Kind of timer just.
Did absolutely nothing. All right.
Yep. So now you're in a really good position, because now you could potentially
Got him.
So you got a heart. Okay. Now do something else. So the violence is basically a brick, but still you got a heart. So now in 6 seconds, that heart is going to spawn more hearts, so more pieces that can capture B-boy. So what I would do for you, your libido can't move because it just doesn't move. Your gaze can't move. But what you could do actually is, if you look, that tentacle monster, that one right there. Well, I guess you can't see this because you can't see Melane's screen. But the tentacle monster all the way to the left top that you have there, B-boy.
Yeah.
That one can move in the path of Melane's female gaze and block that gaze so that your gaze can move.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So you could move. You could try the switcheroo to move it there. Oh, okay. Okay. So now your gaze can move. So now that gaze can come. So there you go. Okay. Oh, okay. That's not bad, actually, because now both of the gazes are locked. Oh no, I'm sorry. Actually, they're not both locked. Melane's gaze is open.
Yeah. Can I just grab these?
No, because gaze can't capture. Gaze only immobilizes and does
gazy
shit. But in a few seconds, you're gonna have you should have some things spawning here soon-ish. But what I would do, and again, not to quarterback, what I would do is I would move your violence away from that, move it down so that that heart can spawn hearts more easily because it's a chance to spawn. Yep. So there you go. And that is, oh, yep. Oh, I would move it out of, yeah. So
I was gonna put it back.
hell yeah.
Ran out of time.
So, B-boy, what I would do, is, so your female gaze isn't locked, but it's immobilizing Mullane's tentacle monster.
Right.
So that's probably like one of the best things you could be doing. But what you could also do, just looking around the board, is you could make a move. So you have okay. So what you could do is you could try to make a move to get a heart, which would be the best play would be to take your tentacle monster on the bottom right there. You see the one that's locked there?
Yeah.
That one can still move. So I would take that and charge at one of these pieces, but you have to be on a pink space to do a capture. So you could potentially charge one of Mullane's pieces and try to get there in time to capture. Okay, there you go. Now try.
Why is it so
but
big?
Not quite. Oh, that's a heart. Yeah. So Mullane, you got a heart. So that means that you can score a point and you can start the process of basically winning because one of your hearts. So the hearts don't cost. The hearts are extra pieces basically, so they're not part of those 4 pieces depicted up there. So they're not part of the score. So you can use them to capture any of Brandon's pieces. Okay, so that made another heart. Now Brandon, you still have the opportunity, I believe, to get. Oh no, I'm sorry, because your tentacle monster got gazed, so it can't move.
Yeah.
But you could still take your gaze and position it. Where should you position it? That's a little tough, actually. It's a tough position. I mean, it's effectively, I think, over at this point. But you could try to basically wrap up those spaces so that that's actually a pretty good play because now you have the chance to immobilize hearts that are coming at you. Okay, so Mullane, again, not the quarterback. I think you know what to do though.
Okay, wait. That's the one that locks me.
That one you just had it over is the one that locks you. That one there. Yep. So that one effectively ended the game.
Why are they spawning so fast?
Yeah, because they come I think it's every 6 seconds. I mean, but when they get backed up, they'll spawn more basically. So
I have no moves to make, so
no moves
It's
to make.
over.
So that's over. That's donezo. Yeah, that's all, folks. That's a boo win. Yeah, wow. Yep, that's.
I kind of got that. I started to.
I mean, it seemed like you both were making moves, so I mean, you both seem to sort of understand it. So I mean,
No,
I was able to get
Mullane,
it to cooperate. There's a difference.
Mullane, you got that. You got the essence of that game faster than I've seen anyone get it.
Yeah.
Definitely myself included. I've played it like half a dozen times with Fruity, and every time I stare and then I get frustrated and then I click and then I stare some more and then I think I got it and I make a move and then I don't.
Well, okay, I was mostly just doing what Rudy told me to. But I think it's helped that I'm starting to get like an intuition for how Rudy does his interfaces. So like what you gotta click.
Yeah, the interface is actually a big part of this because I mean, it's simple, but like there's a lot of information to communicate, I guess. So that's what you and I worked on because we weren't sure how to, like, without the labels, it would be fucking impossible, basically. And that's what we discovered is that,
And then it was just like, get points.
Yeah. But
I don't think I really grasped it, but
I think you did actually, because you're the first one that I played with other than myself to score a point. So yeah. I mean, you and B-boy. B-boy scored. Well, yeah. Well, you made a capture, so that's more than certain people. I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, that's good. Well, thanks for playing it. interesting to see other people's perspective on it.
And there was a lot of just clicking and like checking just reading this like the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
side.
Well, I mean, you guys jumped into it like not knowing anything. So I mean, you did incredibly well for not really knowing or understanding anything about it before jumping in. Both of you.
We did good, Brandon.
Yeah, that's quite the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I continue to be like bewildered by it, but I do think the interface changes you made did make it a lot easier for me to read the board at a glance than I could yesterday or a couple days ago, which I think is, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to like, I don't think my brain works the right way that I'd be able to play it in a strategic way, but I do think it communicates a lot clearer than it did before.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna wrap up. So if you have something to say about.
No, I was just gonna say it's about gender or something. So gay.
It's definitely about gender. And I do like the way that you've taken like the gendered language and mapped it onto game mechanics, especially like the libido stuff and the scoring and the gaze and all of that. I think I think it is I don't know. I think it's sharp, and I think it is
Oh, y'all were saying gaze like Gaze.
Yeah.
All right. The game's starting to make a little more. The game's starting to make a little more sense.
Gotcha.
And the fact that like the male like structure for what can get something is like it's like all hierarchical, like alpha, beta.
Yeah.
But then the female like equivalent piece is just a female piece.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like the female, and not just, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I know we're trying to get wrapped up, but the language people talk about this game with was important in the conception of the game, and conceptualizing what I wanted to like use for the theme basically. Because people have said on Reddit, like, well, why the fuck did you use gender? You use anything else. You use day or night or whatever. But it's like, I mean, and I won't take up too much time, but it's all important. I'm glad you picked up on that, Wayne, because that's important for them.
I thought it was cheeky.
All right, I think we're gonna call it there. I'm gonna leave, as usual, I'm gonna leave the Zoom meeting up, but we're gonna end the recording. That was Misery Loves Company, a weekly social. No, that's what I say at the beginning. We do this every fucking week. 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you to everyone who read. Thank you to everyone who shared your work. This has been a really fun night. It's been a really fun night. And it's been one of those nights where at the end of it, for me anyway, I feel like some dark clouds have lifted. I feel like things feel lighter in both senses of the term, lighter than they did at the beginning. So it's been fantastic. If you're watching this on YouTube, you should come, you should read your work, you should hang out with us. We tweet out the link from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism right before we get started. So yeah, it's open to everyone. Okay, that's it. Fuck it. We're done. No, we're not. I can't find the button. Okay, now we're done.